cutu nyang nak mau leunutan jaluk kana sepak milu selem tanah amarulu kesaea media tua silong asu la cutu nyang nak mau.
Revolves around a beautiful but endangered Borneo species called Argus pheasant, and this will be accompanied by traditional Kenyah dance movements.
Hello everyone, and a very good evening to you. My name is Simon, and I will be your host for tonight's program. I hope that everyone is doing their best to maintain the social distancing, proper hygiene, and following the advices given by the government. This series of programs are done because we think that this will be able to help in lifting up the spirit in this period of restricted movement. And we hope that you will be able to learn something new through the things that we talk about in this program. During this session, you should see a poll on your screen, and it will be great if you can give us some feedback. And of course, questions are more than welcome. And if you have any, please type them down in the Q&A below, which will be located at the bottom center. Tonight, we have a special guest from Malaysia, Dr. Chong Pek Lin. Dr. Chong began her career as a chemistry teacher, then switched fields, serving as music lecturer at IPGK Batu Lintang, Kuching, and IPGK Sarawak Miri until she retired in 2015. She has conducted research in the ethnic music of Borneo, particularly that of the Kenya. Her interest in ethnic music began from her frustration in finding transcribed local folk songs for a choir to sing and as teaching materials in a classroom. Over the years, she has documented over 90 songs, many of which are featured in the 3 books she has written. In July 2006, she was the recipient of the inaugural ISME Gibson Award for Outstanding Music Educators, presented at the ISME 27th World Conference. Through her efforts, East Malaysian folk songs and instrumental music were infused into lectures and featured in choir performance and musical dramas. She has presented papers on East Malaysian music at various international seminars and written articles in academic journals. Hello, Dr. Chong, and a very good evening to you.
Good evening, Simon.
We're very honored to be able to have you for tonight. So, can you talk a little on the video that we just played a while ago?
Yes, sure. Very happy to. The videos just now showed some of my field recordings in Ulu Baram and Belaga, where the Kenyah live. As you can see, recreational choral singing has always been an important part of the culture. They sing a cappella without any accompaniment, and usually while dancing along the veranda. But what intrigued me most was the ability to sing in consonant harmony. So when I present this in international conferences, the audience is often incredulous. They can't imagine that people can sing so well in harmony in Asia, and that they did not learn this in the West. And then later on, after that, I was showing how we recontextualize the songs, that we bring the songs for stage performance. So although they are sung a cappella in the longhouse, to make them more palatable to the urban audience and also to keep my singers in tune, I would arrange instrumental accompaniment. So sometimes we use traditional instruments like the sape and jatong utang, but I find that the Western instruments like piano, cello, violin are more versatile because you can do it in any key. Whereas if you use jatong utang and sape, you can only play in one key. You can tune the sape only E flat major. After that, for the whole show, you're stuck with that key only.
I see.
And then, and in one of the videos, you see one of the soloists is singing the first verse in Kenyah, and then the second he sang in Bahasa Melayu, because that was actually for a drama competition in which the medium had to be in Bahasa. And it's also to help the people understand what he was singing about. But for the last 2 dramas, what we did was we tried to use Kenyah, original Kenyah language throughout. But I think we made it clear through the actions, through dance, and that what the story was about. And also we use a narrator in between scenes.
So, this is actually quite nostalgic to me because I actually spent 3 years in Sarawak while I was studying.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so it's actually very happy to have you here to show to me Sarawak culture as well. So yeah, it's quite a reminiscence of my study year in Kuching. Yeah.
Oh, in Kuching.
So a little background as well. I studied civil department in Sarawak. So I'm also one of those, like doctor, has a passion in music, but unfortunately has to pursue another career.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, so doctor, can you share to us why did you switch fields from a chemistry teacher to a music lecturer, and how did it happen?
Okay, yes, that's a question often posed to me because people are very surprised.
Yes.
Diverse, the very different fields. So I need to explain something about myself. I have always wanted to be a school teacher and to work with young people. And since I was a student in the science stream, it was a natural progression for me to take up a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, and I did end. But at the same time, I had grown up in a home filled with music. My mother was a piano teacher, and she was also a composer. While my father, he was a doctor, but he loved to sing. In fact, he said he only became a doctor because there was a scholarship for medicine. If there had been a scholarship for music, he would have become a band conductor. That was his dream. Anyway, he loved to sing and he was always singing. He had a deep bass voice, and we always had these musical evenings in our house, where we had musicians coming in and then people were singing and so on. And our home was constantly filled with musicians practicing for concerts, or my mother's students preparing for exams. So my sisters and I were always taking part in all these activities. And under my mother's guidance, I also passed my LTCL in piano. So I was a qualified piano teacher. At the same time, while I was in school, I joined the dance club and developed a love for dance. So with all this upbringing, I was very eager to involve my students in school in music and dance. So maybe you wonder why I didn't opt to teach music. The thing is, at that time, music was not a subject in school, and you could not take music in all the local universities did not offer music. Music was off the table. So if you study music, that means you're going to be a piano teacher or violin teacher, that's all. And I didn't want to be a carbon copy of my mother. I didn't want to be my mother. So it's like teenage rebellion. I don't want to be like my mother.
Okay, understand.
That's how it happened. But when I was a teacher, I served for 12 years as a teacher. I think I did quite okay teaching chemistry and maths. I did an okay job and I enjoyed it. But I found that I was making a much bigger impact after school hours, where I was leading the choir and the dance club, organizing concerts and musical dramas. I found that my students really enjoyed that, because many of them have no formal training in music, and they really appreciated the chance to participate in these activities, to sing, to dance, to act. And I found that I really loved it, and it gave me a chance to flex my creative muscle. So I felt that I enjoyed that so much more than teaching science. So in 1989, when the Batulintang Teachers College were looking for experienced teachers to fill the vacancies as lecturers, I decided to apply to be a music lecturer rather than continue in science. So that's how I came to this field of music education for the next 22 years.
Wow, okay. I see. So Dr. Chong, what advice would you give to those who wish to pursue their passion in music, but due to circumstance are forced to pursue something else, like me?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think the problem stems from the fact that music in our society is not considered a lucrative career. So most parents will tell their children to aim for safer jobs like medicine, engineering, accountancy. Is that what happened to you?
Yes, actually, I'm one of them.
So there's also the perception, the faulty perception that better students go to the science stream. So this perception leads many talented students to shy away from music. And our government policy is also geared towards the sciences, you agree? They don't value the performing arts. The JPA does not offer scholarships for music or dance. And actually, this happened to my son Nicholas. He used to play violin in the Sarawak Symphony Orchestra. And then after his SPM, he applied for a government scholarship. There was no scholarship for music. But he applied and he got a scholarship for electrical engineering. And actually, we were all very happy, because before this, very few non-Bumi got scholarship. So he was happy to take it. But he was saying, if they had offered music, he would have chosen music. So what happens is because of this unjust perception of music that many students don't choose it in the end. And so as a result, Malaysia has lost many potential musicians with a lot of talent, maybe like you as well.
Yeah.
And I think one of the previous speakers, Madam Gina Perez, gave very good advice in response to a similar question. So if you are unable to pursue music as a first degree, just keep learning, take private lessons, and maybe music can be a second career or a very serious hobby. You can take part in amateur orchestras, like maybe you're doing that now. or
Yeah,
choirs.
actually.
Yeah. But you can just keep taking private lessons. But I would like to quote that there's a vocal music teacher I met. He's a lecturer in University Malaya, and he teaches singing there. But he was actually formerly an accountant. So he told us he became an accountant because of family pressure. But after working several years, he hated it so much, he just gave it up and then saved up enough money, went to the States and studied music. And now he's very happy teaching music in university.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, so Dr. Chong, what are some defining characteristics of folk music and ethnic music? And how is the study of ethnomusicology relevant to musicians in the classical field?
Okay. Yes, folk music and ethnic music, they carry slightly different connotations and they may refer to different genres, but they can also be used for the same entity. So for tonight's discussion, I will take them as referring to the same entity, which is traditional music, which expresses the life of people in a community. So I think I will just elaborate on three characteristics. The first one, they are originally transmitted through oral tradition. That means they are learned through hearing, not through reading. And for me, I experienced this firsthand. For me, in a choir, I'm used to looking at tons and tons of choir sheets, right? Maybe you sing in a choir as well.
Yes, yes.
But when I went to the Kenya village, I was so amazed. They were singing song after song for hours. And they didn't look at a single sheet of paper. It was all in their heads, all in their memory. So this is real oral tradition. And then secondly, the second characteristic was the composer is usually unknown and anonymous.
Okay.
We don't know who composed the song because it was passed down over many generations, and it may actually have variations from in each village because it may have changed as they pass from one village to another. And the third one is it's participatory rather than performed formally. For example, in Kenya villages, everybody sings. It's not a performance. Everybody just takes part. And then, okay, the second part of the question regarding ethnomusicology, why is it important to classical music? I think classical musicians, we tend to forget that a lot of classical repertoire actually was rooted in folk music. It came from folk music. For example, in 19th century, the so-called international classical style actually came from German folk song. In fact, it's so much so that the other European countries, especially in the East, they felt that this was not their music. Why should they learn this alien music? So that's how, towards the end of the century, the Russians, it started with the Russians, they felt that they must develop music which reflects their own folk music. And so there were 5 composers, they call themselves the Mighty Five. Maybe you are familiar with some of them, like Borodin and Mussorgsky. Have you heard the piece Night on Bald Mountain? Mussorgsky's Night on Bald. It's a very scary orchestral piece. It's about that you feel it's like a ghost and witches coming out. It's based on Russian folklore where they're ghosts coming out. I love that piece. It's very scary, but it really has Russian flavor. It has this kind of it's not major scale. They don't use major scale. They have their own modes and harmonies. It's very unlike the German style. And then later on in the 20th century in Hungary, Béla Bartók and Zoltán Kodály also felt the same thing. They said, oh, nobody is singing their own Hungarian folk songs. But then the people in town did not know how to sing Hungarian folk songs. So these 2 composers, they actually went round to all the villages and collected thousands of songs. And then they wrote them into books. So what happened was Bartók used these folk songs to inculcate into his classical compositions. Kodály applied them to music education. I'll talk about that later. He was a very successful music educationist. And then in Asia and Africa, we owe a lot to ethnomusicologists because they have done a lot of research and composers have now incorporated them into their own works. Okay, for example, in China, there are many ethnic groups. People may not realize that apart from the Han Chinese, the normal Chinese that we know of, there are 55 ethnic groups, small. So they have been documenting all their folk songs, and then they arrange them with accompaniment, orchestra accompaniment, and piano accompaniment into art songs. And then perhaps I can share something personal.
Sure.
Maybe you are surprised to say that at my age, I'm still a music student. I'm still taking lessons in singing, and I'm taking exams. Because I started because I always have to train choirs, but then if I can't sing properly myself, then how can I train them?
Okay.
So I started taking lessons. And then for my exam, my recent performance diploma exam, so apart from singing Mozart and Puccini arias from operas and German lieder, I also included one art song from China. It's called July Grasslands, about the prairie, the grasslands in July. It's actually based on a Kazakh, a Xinjiang Kazakh folk song.
Okay.
It's not a Han. So the lyrics describe the grasslands and nomadic culture are nomads, just like the Mongols. The music is very different. It's very lively, and the harmony and melody is also very different. So this Chinese composer, he arranged the piano accompaniment to reflect the harmony and the dance rhythms. So when the examiner heard this song, I could see on his face, he was really entranced by it, because he had not come across this style before. He really appreciated it. And then for my grade 7 exam 2 years ago, what I did was I took 3 Kadazan Dusun songs. I arranged with simple piano accompaniment, and the theme was Keamatan. It was the Harvest Festival. Actually, 2 of those songs maybe you might know them, because at least one of them is on YouTube. Another one I got from the actual composer, and the other song I got from a village, a woman who sang it in Tambunan. So this is a very old song. So I combined the 3 and then explained the meaning to him, and the examiner really loved it. You could see it, because like me, for every day he listens to everybody sing Mozart, Puccini, Beethoven, and suddenly this very different song comes out. So he really appreciated it, and I got very high marks for that.
Okay, doctor. One thing I would like to tell you, I actually have Dusun blood, and
Yes,
my hometown is Tambunan. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So you come from a very musical culture.
Yeah. So it's actually a very big surprise for me. I actually went there before. So yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
and many of my students are actually from Sabah, and
I see.
and many of them are Dusun. Yeah. So and I think Tambunan is actually a cultural center.
Yes,
so
actually, it's very cultural. So, doctor, why did you choose to focus on Kenya music? And can you share with us how you applied your research findings to music education and for stage productions? Okay,
I think you've already mentioned I started this research on Kenya music because I could not find any songs from Borneo. And as a music lecturer, I learned about the Cudahy Method, which is a very effective and fun way of learning music through song. And it was developed in Hungary under the guidance of Zoltán Kodály, just the composer I mentioned just now, who went through all those villages and collected many of these songs. So actually, I think I was inspired by him to do so. So he believes in starting the songs in a pentatonic scale. And if you listen to the songs on the video, most of them are pentatonic. The do, re, mi, sol, la. Okay? It's not the full major scale, because that is the way natural child development, children start singing. Yeah. So he believes that children should start learning music, singing folk songs in pentatonic scale. And it's a very successful method, because in Hungary, almost everybody plays a musical instrument. Everybody knows how to sight sing. They can read music. If you can't read music in Hungary, you are not good. So we music lecturers were all convinced that it's a great method, and we were supposed to train our students to teach this in school. But we didn't have the songs. All the school books, the song books, were full of songs which were composed songs, not folk songs, and they were mostly in the major scale, not
I see.
pentatonics. So if we had to teach this method, we had to use American songs or English songs,
Yeah,
which
agree.
suit our country. So that's how I started looking for songs from Sarawak, and started with Kenya community because I'd heard one song, Liling. Liling, 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 liling. So then I started researching the museum archives, and I learned that the Kenya love to hold singing parties and that they sing in harmony. So there, I think that's showing a score now. They actually sing in harmony, two parts.
Oh, great, great.
And they can keep in tune even without any instruments. So I was very happy to find a large collection of melodious songs. They were fun songs with rhythmic, catchy melodies, and 70% were in the pentatonic scale. So what happened? I tried to introduce these songs to my own teacher trainees, and I have successfully taught them in the school. And at the same time, I was eager to share these songs with the public. So that's why we started singing them during convocation, even for national events like Majlis Pelancaran Bulan Bahasa. It's supposed to be Bahasa Melayu, but we were singing Kenya songs.
Yeah.
But then the trouble is, most people don't understand Kenya. Only 2% of the population is Sarawak.
Yes.
So what happened is when we sang the songs, people said, "Oh, very beautiful songs," but they didn't know it was Kenya. So what we did was we started wearing Kenya costumes, using Kenya instruments, and so on, and telling Kenya stories. And then sometimes we will sing one verse in English or Malay so that they will understand.
I see.
But my hope is that more Malaysian composers will start making use of these songs, and then maybe your orchestra can start playing them next time.
Yeah, we'll think about it, definitely. Thank you, Doctor. Okay, so Doctor, in your research, what are some of the challenges you experienced?
Okay, I think the greatest challenge was for me at first was the travel, the transport because the Kenya, if you can see from the map, they live right in the center of Borneo.
Yes.
So in order to reach there, in the old days, you have to go by river. It can take a week or weeks, depending on the current. And you have to go through the rapids, which you may drown, actually, or you may lose everything.
Dangerous.
But nowadays, there are logging roads because of all the logging camps which have reached the city. But those roads also very dangerous and very bumpy and very uncomfortable. And it's very expensive to go there. The next challenge was translation. Because Kenya is a language, it is only spoken by a small population in Sarawak, and there is no Kenya dictionary. So that was also a big headache. And then the next one is communication. There's no way to communicate. In the old days, you have to, if you send by post, it may take months to reach. So after my first trip, what I did was I sent them the photos by the flying doctor service. But nowadays, they have internet, they have Facebook, actually. But the line is not reliable because they depend on the school or the clinic. So if they can get through, then I can communicate. If there's no line, then silence for a few weeks.
Okay, understand. Okay. So, Doctor, when you mix to the Kenya community, so does that are you forced to learn the language? So you have to communicate with them in their language.
They have been trying to teach me, like I tried to teach to learn the language, and I make a vocabulary list because there's no dictionary. But then, luckily, fortunately, many of them can speak Bahasa. So I can also I speak to them in Bahasa, but the older people they're not very fluent, so I depend on the younger ones.
I see.
To help me, but I have also learned quite a bit of Kenyan.
Okay. So Doctor can speak Kenya as well.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, definitely. All right. So Doctor, for this event, would you like to share your thought on JPL recent MCO broadcast program and for our JPL outreach program? And do you have any advice or suggestion to the team?
I think it's a wonderful program. I'm so privileged to be able to listen to experiences and advice from established musicians with so many different specialities, playing the trumpet, playing the violin, the cello, singers, and so on. My son, who is a cellist, and I have been following the program, and we have gained a lot from different perspectives.
Thank you.
Yes. And I think it's great to have these people speaking, because then the younger people have role models, good role models to follow. And then for the outreach program, yeah, I have been going through the photos, videos on the Facebook, JPO Facebook, and really touched by the outreach program. It's so wonderful that you can bring music to rural schools and even to the OKU, and you can see how much joy they gain in being able to play classical instruments. So maybe just one suggestion, maybe you could include more Pada Sandusun songs in your repertoire and arrange
Sure.
so that they can relate to them.
Yes. Thank you, Doctor.
Yeah, and then yes, we really need people to look for more songs, because it's a dying culture. Many, like for the Kenya, the younger generation, they can't sing the songs anymore. The songs will actually die out. So I'm so happy I could write them down before they disappear.
Okay. All right. So, Doctor, to those who are interested to venture into the world of folk music, what would you advise?
Yes, I would be delighted to have more people working in the field. Please come and help to document this dying music culture. There are very few people left in the villages, so you really have to search. But if you succeed, it's a wonderful and a very rewarding experience. Okay, so if I had not gone on this adventure, I would never have traveled so deep into the jungle and seen all these beautiful parts of Borneo. I would never have made friends with these people. They have such a fascinating culture, and they live a vastly different life from what we experience now. But if you take it up, you have to be prepared for uncertainty, because you can't say, okay, I want to go there from this such and such a date to another date. You can't. They say, oh, I can't travel. The driver or the boat driver said, we can't go today because of the river, or because the road is not clear, and so on. And it's important to find gatekeepers, that is musicians, people who really know the music and who can explain to you the meaning of the songs.
Okay.
But for those who want to take it up as for their master's or doctorate, then the important thing is to find a supervisor, a good supervisor.
I see. Yeah. Thank you. All right, Doctor. Okay, so now we'll have a Q&A session by the attendee. So I'll read out the questions, and hold on. First, I'll read out the question from the YouTube community. Give me a second. Okay, so from YouTube by Sel Parjapon. Hi, Dr. Chong Pek Lin. I'm Denison. We met before in 2014 during Hari Wanita. I'm amazed with your works on Kenya's Belian Dado and singing studies. I gained a lot of infos from your paperworks. Well done. My question is, what are the challenges in producing the paperworks on these songs?
Sorry, in producing the paper, is it?
In producing the paperworks on these songs.
Oh, the paperwork. Okay, yeah. I think the greatest challenge for me was the translation, the lyrics, getting the lyrics. So sometimes, what I do is when I document the songs, the first thing is I will record them. So I get an audio recording and I come back and I write notation. But then because I'm not so familiar with the language, I can't catch the lyrics. And even if I show them to people in town, if they are younger generation, they also don't know the meaning, because it is in what we call song language. It's different from the everyday spoken language. So even if you speak Kenya, they can't make up the meaning of the song. Or even if they know the words, they they can't understand the meaning. So what I did was sometimes I had to go back to the village just for a session translation session. I will play the recordings and say, what is the word? What is the meaning? So that was the difficult thing.
I see. Okay. So next question from Mr. Yap. So hi, Dr. Chong.
Hi.
First of all, thank you for being our guest speaker tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you, Doctor. I must also express my gratitude to your mom, the late Datin Julia Chong, for mentoring me during my younger days.
Yes, yeah. And thank you very much for teaching my daughter Julia and helping her. Without you, I think she wouldn't have got her distinction in grade 8 violin.
In your opinion, do you think enough work is done in preserving the ethnic music in Borneo? And is there a desperate urge to archive all those ethnic music and ethnic instruments?
Yes, very much so. That is a very good statement. The culture is disappearing so fast. It's really very scary. And it's worse because because we have all the mass media and people they are exposed to pop songs, to other songs, but they don't know them. Nobody sings them anymore. And they were like, yeah.
Okay. This one is asked by Klinsman O'Neill, which is my friend.
Okay.
Is there in any way any major difference in technique when singing folk songs compared to popular genres such as pop songs?
Okay. What happens is that folk songs are acoustic. They do not have, for pop songs. What happens is that there seems to be this underlying beat, right? An underlying constant beat in the background. They're always very fast and well, not always, but often very fast and noisy. But then many of so-called pop songs, like just I like to say something about like Sabahan music. I think what they have done is they have come up with a genre. The popular Kadazan Dusun songs like Jambatan Pangkaruli, Taragang Rasuk, and so they are actually derived from folk songs. They have this sound scale, but they have they've added a kind of pop beat on top of that. So it's a modern kind of pop song, I would say, a genre by itself. Whereas Iban pop songs are completely different. They are pop songs. They do not seem to have any direct links with the Iban music culture at all. It's a new genre. Yeah.
Okay.
It's no link at all. Yeah.
This is something new for me as well. Yes, I thought usually they have link with their cultures, but no.
Just I mean the words maybe, yeah, the lyrics maybe, but the music, no, it does not seem to have any link.
I see.
Or I do not see the link. Maybe somebody has to do research.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this one is asked by Anonymous. What funding is available to help with this type of ethnomusicology research?
Okay, I think you'll have to search for the funding. So in my case, what happened was when I did my master's, it was self-funded. My husband would help me. But after that, when I started presenting this paper at the conference, actually I managed to get a slot to present my paper because one of the American researchers, established American researchers, could not come. So there was this empty slot. So when they asked me to speak instead. So as a result of that slot, then that's how in the end I managed to get funding. I became the chief researcher for the from what we gave it the name from upriver longhouses to the modern classroom. So it was funded by the United States, but United States there's a fund for cultural preservation. But this was done through the Sarawak Development Institute. They asked me to apply, so I wrote a working paper. We used that working paper to apply for the
Okay.
I got the funds for that.
Okay, so this one is asked by Anonymous as well. How do you encourage young people to take up ethnomusicology?
How do I encourage? I think it's only by exposing them to what I have done myself. I would like what I've done with my students, involving them in the research. I brought many of them to the villages. And then we also sang, I taught them the songs, and they performed many of the songs on stage. And so I think they have this inspiration to do so themselves. That's how I would do it. Yeah.
All right. Okay, this one is asked by Miss Jessica Lee. So, thanks Dr. Chong for your teachings about our North Borneo traditional music. We JPO are happy to share with you that we are including more traditional music as part of our hard music education exam. For music researchers, how might we get hold of more documented traditional music? For Mr. Yapling's earlier questions.
Sorry, how?
For our music researchers, how might we get hold of more documented traditional music?
For music researchers, how might we get more? Is it?
Yeah, get hold of more documented traditional music.
Oh, okay. That's rather difficult. I think Malaysians don't write enough books. We don't have enough books.
Okay.
So I think we just need to write more books. But I think that there are some, maybe you have to go through the university archives. And where I searched was the museum archives in Sarawak. You have to write in and get permission to go inside. You can start reading all the theses, because they're all buried in those libraries, maybe master's thesis and so on. So yeah, there are not enough books around. But yeah, for me, my doctoral thesis is actually online. You can just go online. My university, and not all universities do this, but the University of Pretoria, they put all their thesis online. So actually, you can search for all the songs there.
I see.
And then maybe nowadays people put it on websites. I'm building my own website, so I think maybe you can get material from my website. Possibly other musicians will be doing that too.
Okay, hopefully. Let's
I'm in the
hope for it.
process of building mine. Yeah, I'm also writing a second edition to my first book, because the first book is not available anymore. It's not out of print. I'm writing a new edition, including more. So you can also get them from books. I hope more people write books.
We're waiting for it, doctor. Okay. So asked from an anonymous as well. Could you give suggestion on different ways to promote ethnic music?
Ethnic music. I have been trying to do that, through these productions. Yeah, and I think I've been quite successful in my own sphere, but maybe because the audience is not wide enough. Because my students usually perform inside the college, or some venues like when we're invited out and so on. And then we need to have more outreach programs. Not many people have seen performances. Probably I'll try to put more on YouTube. Maybe that's where people search now.
I see.
But I think we need to give it, recontextualize them a bit. So if we present them exactly as how it is done in the village, people may not have the patience to listen. So we can give them short introduction and more lively introduction too.
Okay, I understand. All right. So next one is also from anonymous. Could you give suggestion on? Hold on. Oh yeah, sorry, it's the previous question. It is this. So the archive in ethnic music is mainly in the form of recorded music, in audio and videos, and not in notation. Am I right?
It's like this. The Sarawak Museum actually has a large archive of recorded music, but they do not make it available to most people, and it is not organized so that like you can listen to a tape, but you don't know where the music is from, which village, and so on. So it is actually not that useful. It's not well categorized. They didn't have proper labels. So when I said I went to museum archives, what I meant was just reading through the thesis and the books, masters and doctoral thesis.
Okay.
And actually, I didn't really find very much. Not many people have written on music. They write about them, but they don't write scores.
All right. So by mixing with the Kenya community, doctor, so do you learn any instruments that they play?
Yes, the sape. I learned the sape and the jatong utang and what they call the lutong. So I with the money that the grant that came from the Eastern Gibson Award, we bought these instruments. I think you can see it just now on the stage performance, the video where my students were playing. Those instruments were bought with the grant money. So my students learned to play it and then we perform on stage. Yeah. The jatong utang, the sape, and there's another instrument, the lutong, the plucked instrument.
Okay. This one is also asked by Kingsman O'Neill. What is a good traditional instrument to learn as a beginner Sarawakian folk songs?
Oh, instrument, then I would say the jatong utang would be the easiest to pick up. The jatong utang, the xylophone, it is like a xylophone, but it only has it's a pentatonic scale, do re mi sol la. So it is like the off. Those music educationists will know about the off instruments. It is like that. So they are very good for children, especially. Very easy to pick up.
I see. Okay.
You are a guitarist. I think you can learn the sape also, but it's a little more difficult.
The sape, I've been wondering, is the sape, how do you say this, related to a specific community, or is a more general instrument for Sarawakian?
Actually, it was the Kenya who started. It
Oh,
came
okay.
from the Kenya. But the Kayan, of course, some people may not agree, but I think for me, I think the truth is the Kenya were the ones who originated. The Kayan are also very good at it. So the Kenya and the Kayan, they both play. And now the Iban have also picked it up.
Yeah,
and now, it's spread throughout the whole Israel, but the originators are the Kenya.
Because originally I thought the sape is mainly attributed to the Ibans, because most of the sape player are Iban from what I noticed. Yeah.
Okay, but no, it is the Kenya who started.
Yeah. Okay, something new. Thanks, doctor. Okay. This one is asked by anonymous as well. What roles do musicians play within a given society?
I beg your pardon? What?
Okay, what roles do musicians play within a given society?
Given society. I think it depends on which culture. Different cultures, they play different roles. But for the Kenya musicians, they are really respected. And the sape actually started as a healing, as a healing ritual. So it was not in the video, but I met a man who in Longmo who could play the original sape, which is only 2 strings, and this sape was used to heal sickness, and it could call on the spirits. that was how it actually developed.
Okay. This one is asked by anonymous attendee. So after the MCO, would it be a good idea to start implementing traditional music in places where there are many people? Examples, coffee shops, restaurants, grab cars, and so on and so forth.
After the MCO is over.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, you mean when there is no more fear of COVID?
Yes.
Is that what you mean? Oh, it would be great if people are willing to play that. But then, yes, somebody would have to fund the venture, fund some funding for it. That would be a very good idea.
Okay. All right. Next question is also asked from Anonymous. How many type of ethnic musical instruments do you think we have in Sarawak and Sabah?
Wow, to really count.
Yeah.
I need to count. Yeah, maybe at least 20 or 30. 20 or 30 different types. But the most prominent ones would be the percussion instruments, the gongs, the idiophones, what we call the idiophones, like the gong culture. So that, especially in Sabah, but it's also found in Sarawak, the Iban and the Cudahy. I think that is the most outstanding one. Even the Kenya and Kayan, they also have gongs. Okay, but they do not play them anymore. That is the surprising thing. They have gongs. They keep them in the. They used to play them, but not anymore. It's very strange.
I see. Okay. Great. Okay. Next one is also asked by Anonymous. Dr. Chong, how different are the styles of music between all the different ethnic groups?
Wow. Okay. I can only speak for the ones I know. The Iban, and maybe a bit of Vijay. So that like as we were saying just now, they have a very they tend to have a very strong tendency to play idiophones, like the Iban, the Angkomongs. It's all gong chimes, we call it gong chime. And the outstanding characteristic is the cross rhythms. Yeah, they will each play their own rhythm and they will like contrast with each other. There's a set. Then similarly for the Bidayu, cross idiophonic cross rhythms. Whereas the Kenya, as you see, they play melodic. The emphasis now is more on the melody and the harmony, not so much on the rhythm.
I see. Okay. All right. So the next one is also asked by an anonymous. This little deep. How does ethnic musical performance represent their identity in their life, such as race, class, gender, and sexuality?
Oh, okay. Maybe you can speak for the Kenya. The Kenya race, class. In the old days, maybe not anymore, but in the old days, it was the nobility. Goes from because the Kenya and the Kayan, they have what we call stratified society. So they have a noble class, like the royal class. Then we have the ordinary people, and then the slaves. So there are three classes of people. So in the old days, it's the nobility, the parent, we call them, who can sing very well, and they will be the ones leading the song. And then they believe the Kenya, the Lepota from Laumo believe that these songs, many of the songs were inspired, not so much the recreational songs that I showed in the video. This is their epic songs. They learned them by going to this special rock in the interior. And those people who went there were mainly men. So it's the men who went there and they learned these songs through dreams. They came back and they will sing these songs, and these songs will tell the epic tales of their heroes, their warrior heroes. And when they sing, they will sing for maybe 1 or 2 nights non-stop. It's
Wow.
telling the stories, and only the men will sing. And then, but one person will sing, this soloist will sing, but the rest of the people, they will gather around and they will sing the chorus. You will sing the song at the end of the verse, and they will sing in harmony. They'll sing the end. So you can see that, okay, for gender, only men. And then there are songs which only women sing. There are some category of songs which only women sing. And then the sape was originally only played by men.
Oh, I see.
I have a student, her name is Beatrice Bulan. Her father is a very famous sape player. He's now the penghulu of Ulu Baram. He played the sape so well that he went to Europe to perform. But he refused to teach it to his daughter because women should not play the sape. There was this.
Wow.
So she was very angry because Beatrice loves to play guitar. She's a very good musician. But even though he had this rule, her father, he agreed to teach the sape to this American researcher. Her name is Virginia Golinsky. So she actually wrote her master's thesis on the sape, and she learned from Beatrice's father. So he taught her, okay, orang putih, okay, but not my child.
Okay.
But now the society has changed, and women, it's very common for women to take up the sape.
I see.
There was this gender division in the past.
I see. Something new as well. I never knew that the sape is only meant for the men. Yeah. Okay. So next question is asked by Klinsmann. Thank you for your insight, Doctor. I am very much interested in studying Borneo folk songs. How does one who does not have any background in traditional music experience start?
I think before this, I also did not have any experience in traditional music. But what happened was, you just dive into it. You just go to the village and learn it. But of course, you go to the library and read up on it before. Okay, something happened to my screen. I suddenly don't see anything.
Oh, okay.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can still see you, Doctor. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to my computer screen. Never mind, it's okay.
All right. Hopefully it's fine. Okay. Next one is asked by an anonymous attendee. So I have seen various types of sape. And I'm very curious on how to identify the traditionally correct type of sape.
I think originally the sape itself has changed over the years, but originally it had only 2 strings. But then let's say over the last 20 years, it has become 3 or 4 strings. But the frets are what we call the indent. They can be moved. So it originally should be in pentatonic scale, do, re, mi, sol, la. Or it can also be do, re, fa, sol, ti. You can push them to go into the scale. But what many people do nowadays, they add it so there's the full major scale. There is a modification. So they play it like a guitar.
Okay. Next one is question by Chris Yek. Hi, Dr. Chong. Does your notation of folk music cover mainly the main tune structure while omitting the embellished grace notes? I failed to find any Sarawakian folk song manuscript on Google under a client's request. So I tried notating an Iban song cover. Oh, this is very popular. Makikis Bulu Batis. Yet the embellishments are quite complex and uncertain.
Yes, I think what I have given as an example tonight are the recreational songs. This is a category of songs called Balian Dado. So these are the songs that I found, which are okay. Now I have a bit of it disappeared again. Which are useful for schools for music education. But then there are also songs, where there are a lot of embellishments through. And these there are some Balian Dado like that, but they are more found in the epic songs. Okay, and those have a lot of embellishments, and there's 3 meter and correct. I have also notated some of these. But at the moment, I'm focusing more on those with straight rhythm, yeah, the ones which are useful for music education.
I see. Okay. So next one is asked by anonymous attendee. I understand that there are gongs in both Sabah and Sarawak. Is there any difference in these gongs from each other?
Sabah and Sarawak. Oh,
Yeah, the gongs.
probably yes, but I have not. I do not know enough to comment.
Ah, okay, okay. All right. Okay. Let's see. Okay, currently we have no question. You guys are welcome to ask more. So, Dr. Chong, let's say the sape and the guitar. Usually,
Yes.
if a song can be played by the guitar, can it be played by the sape as well?
No, I don't think
No.
so.
Oh, okay, okay. Why not?
Because it's completely different instrument. It's a very different instrument. Yeah. The sape, the melody is only on one string. The frets are only on one string.
Let's see.
So the melody is played on that string. Then the other strings are just playing the harmony chord. Okay. Okay. Yes, I definitely. Okay, thank you. My son has just rescued me. My computer doesn't. I'm using his. Okay. No, it's okay. There's a time lag.
Okay, okay.
Never, I can hear.
Okay, okay. So, if you guys have any question, you can still ask, and Dr. Chong will answer later. So, anyway, once again, Dr. Chong, we would like to thank you for having us tonight and for being our special guest for tonight. So, being someone who studied a different course, so to have you, Dr. Chong, as a chemistry teacher who jump over to music, it's a very special event for me. So as you can share a lot of your experience. So our JPO family program will be broadcasted every night until the 12th of May. And tomorrow night we will have Miss Bonnie B from Singapore as our guest speaker. Please check for the link at our JPO Facebook page and tune in. And also, if you want to watch again the program tonight, you can also go to our Jesselton Philharmonic Orchestra media channel on YouTube. You guys have been great. Thanks to all the questions, and I hope you got the answer you wanted. For those waiting for your answer, please stay if you have any question left, and Dr. Chong will answer all your questions in writing. Be safe, everyone, and be healthy, and do stay at home. So everyone, before ending, I will lead the prayer to end tonight's program. And please pray in whatever faith you believe in for the COVID-19. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Oh God, you are merciful. We are in the midst of a new viral epidemic, and we are deeply saddened by it. We pray that you bring healing to the sick and sustain our frontline medical workers. Grant a steadfast faith to all Christians, that we may grant faith to all us, that we may stand in solidarity in the prevention and overcoming of this pandemic. Grant us a repentant heart to learn the lesson from this pandemic, and from this day onwards, play our proper roles in the protection of the ecosystem. We pray all of this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you once again, Dr. Chong, for having us tonight. And good night, everyone. And see you all at the same time tomorrow.